We had an amazing last week in New York City. We did 4 events there. Callie and Lauren did an event. We had about 20 people there. We did a luncheon where we had about 20 people, just game planning everything for New York area. We also had Francesca and Zuri had an amazing event with over about 85 people coming in and out to the event in New York, New Jersey, and just beautiful. We had people from all over the country basically there to support that event with her. And Joss and Danielle are doing a Sunday brunch. They're apart every week, and we had a nice group there as well. So very proud of the New York group and all the momentum that they've got going on there. So big hand to all of them. As you guys know, conference is right around the corner, and you can go to the Team YOLO Facebook page to learn more about making sure you get your photos in. The deadline is tomorrow at the very latest of all of your team members and your customers. Please send those pictures in the Dropbox, as well as the meal plan. Please confirm your number for you guys coming on the meal plan. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Very honored this evening to be introducing my mentor, the person who was patiently persistent, as I would say, with me for about 17 years. Our dear friend Jeff Roberti is been with the company now for 30 years. And if you don't know the story about my story with Jeff, we were friends. A friend of his actually came and shared a water bill with me back in 1987. There's a little bit of a muffle, so I'm not sure who that is, but if you could mute your lines, that'd be amazing. So I was working 4 jobs in Southern California, trying to stay above, and someone came and shared a water filter with me, and they shared the product, and I told everybody to go buy the products from him. Then he told me there was going to be a fun party in Memphis, Tennessee in December, and so I was like, oh, I want to go. So I went to this party. I remember seeing Jeff. I'll never forget it as long as I live. He was standing on the steps at the Peabody Hotel, and like these people were around him. I remember he was standing there with Dwayne Davis, and I'm trying to say Dan Cato, a bunch of these guys, and they're like, hey, well, at least come into the conference tomorrow. I'm like, there's a conference? And they're like, yeah. So I went to the conference, took notes, and I was like, there's a business. I had no idea that there was a business really attached to it. And I would see Jeff at Tony Robbins events for years, and I was very cocky and a little bit arrogant, thought I knew everything about nutrition. And then Jeff came to an event that I was teaching it was 2007, October 2007, and he's like, Lauren, you got a great work ethic. At least come to this event. And I had every excuse not. And he said, I went to the event because I thought, what if it just helps my friend Amanda? And I'm forever grateful to Jeff Roberti, and his faith in me to just say, Lauren might be the one that she might be worth it. Let's just get her to conference. So he is one of my dearest friends. I would do anything for him and his wife. They walk their talk. He is still in the game after all of these years because he loves hearing the stories about how one person truly can make a difference. So he's an amazing brother, an amazing son, amazing husband, really a leader for all of us out there. And we all have Jeff to thank for all of us being in the business because of him saying yes and being part of the amazing mission. So Jeff Roberti, love if you would share your story of, about your just backstory about why you got started and how you got started, and then I'll just keep going. So
yes, I'm here, Lauren. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you great. Thank you.
Well, I am I'm not in Florida, my home in Florida. I'm out in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and just went powder skiing today. I think they had 14 inches of new powder and skied with some of the locals today and pretty much got my butt kicked. It was steep and deep, but they were very impressed that a boy from Florida could hang with them. And it was a lot of fun. It was one of those days, I would call it. We were first ones on the chairlift. But just to share a little bit, Lauren, about my story, I started back in January of 1987 I was a 24-year-old ex-broke waiter. I was very dissatisfied. I was sick and tired of being behind on my bills in life, my promises in life to myself, to my friends, to my family. And, I showed up with a really good work ethic. Some of you maybe can relate to this. No matter what I did, I always took pride in what I did, and I always was the best at whatever I did, whether it was waiting tables or mowing lawns or working construction or cleaning pools. But there was always the ceiling, and, it was always building someone else's dream, and it was limited income, what I could earn. And, I found myself dissatisfied. And I was praying to God to bring me something where this average person with an above average desire could earn an above average income. And I'll never forget, back in January of 1987, a friend of mine cared enough about me to share with me a product, to share with me an opportunity. I was a customer first. And back then it was the environmental product back in 87. But I saw merit and value in the product, just like with Juice Plus. I'm a written fan customer, Juice Plus. I love the product. And that's where it all started for me, was with the passion of the product. And when I went to my very first meeting, I met people and I thought, wow, these are just average people that were earning these above average incomes. And I thought to myself, if they can do it, I can do it. And my very first month, Lauren, I went to first conference, and here's a great lesson, here's a great story. My sponsor, who introduced me at the time, had been in the business for about 2.5, 3 years, and he quit the business my very first month. Or maybe we could all just say huge mistake. He prejudged whether this 24-year-old ex-broke waiter with no higher education, no money, no experience to do anything. And he prejudged, but he didn't realize the number one success ingredient in our business is to find someone that's hungry. Shared with me, don't look up line, don't look down line, look in the mirror. If it's to be, it's up to me. And I remember Jim telling me, for things to change in life, you got to change. And for things to get better, you've got to get better. And you can have more in life if you become more in life, and not to see things the way they are, but to see things the way they can become. So, I told Bob and Sue Burdick when I sponsored them in the business, I said, look, you can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't make both. So my very first month in the business, after becoming a raving fan customer, satisfied customer, my sponsor quitting, being on my own, there was a convention, Lauren, up in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'll never forget, I didn't have the money to go to the conference. I didn't have the money for the plane ticket. I didn't have the money for the hotel. I was broke. And, all excuses are equal. All distractions are equal. Like I said, you can make money, you can make excuses, but you can't make both. So I decided to get in my car, drive from Sarasota, Florida to Asheville, North Carolina. I slept in my car. I went to the gym, worked out. I had long hair back then, got my workout in, took my shower, and I put the one suit on that I owned and a little skinny tie, and I went in that room. And Lauren, I had chills that went through my body. I mean, God had answered my prayers. I saw something that moved me emotionally. It was an experience. I saw the stories and met the people. And I remember driving home in my car from that conference. It was how many hours, 10 hours, whatever it was, driving home. But I was crying tears of joy, had the radio cranked up, and I was like, this is my chance. You talk about a breakthrough, a moment in time, a defining moment, reaching a threshold, reaching a breaking point, enough's enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Behind my bills in life, my promises in life, and I went for it. And I'll never forget one of my other mentors back then, the late, great Zig Ziglar, said, you can have everything you want in life, Jeff, if you help enough other people get what they want in life. So my total focus was always caring more about my customers and the results they got, caring more about my distributors and helping them get off to a fast start, and the money they were earning, not what my position or my money was. And the business was never about me. It was always about the person in front of me. And leading by example, being the best distributor in your organization, holding yourself accountable. Jay Martin didn't call me up and say, Jeff, how many people did you talk to today? I got very clear on what my job description was and what I got paid for right in the very beginning. I got paid for building a growing customer base. I got paid for telling the story, sharing the story, sharing the mission, getting customers, building team. The fortune's in the follow-up, but the fortune's also in the duplication, building relationships, building from one event to the next. And Juice Plus Live, or Juice Plus conventions that we have, and showing up at not only to these conventions by myself, but bringing a new freshman class, a new team. And so I call out this good now. And so I myself accountable, my standards, even though I didn't have an upline or I didn't have any support, I decided that my organization was going to start with me, that I was going to be the best distributor in my organization. And that very first year, I must have talked to Lauren, back then in 1987, concepts are constant. The basics, the fundamentals will never change. Telling the story, sharing a product, sharing an opportunity, building relationships, building for events. What's different, what varies is the techniques. Back then we didn't have social media. We didn't have Zoom calls. But you know what? You figure it out. I used the newspaper, classified advertising, and sales help wanted ads to get the phone to ring. And I was creative and innovative. I had a job to do, and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't talk to 2 people a day or 3 people a day or 5 people a day. I was averaging 20 to 30 people a day. And that first year I talked close to 10,000 people. Wow. And I'll never forget, the top distributor at the time was a guy named Ralph and Kathy Oates. He was a truck driver from Atlanta, Georgia, he and his wife, and they were making $40,000 a month. And first year at 24 years old, I went to over $100,000 a month and became the #1 earner in the Juice Plus company. And then went to 200 the next year and 300 the next year, and never took my foot off the gas the first 5 years here in North America. And then another 5 years over in Europe. And over my career, I broke 41. I added it up the other day. And I went back from the water air filtration days to the Juice Plus days, broke 41 frontline national marketing directors, sold over $10 billion worth of product, and became a $100 million earner as a distributor, not as a company owner, as a distributor in this profession. So what I'm saying is, if this broke waiter that filled out my application just like you filled out yours, I put my pen just like you put yours on. I got the same products, the same marketing system you have. If I can figure it out, if I can do it, you can do it. You see examples today around the world, whether it's in Europe or Australia or here in North America, people today are moving faster than ever. And I truly believe the best times are ahead of us, not behind us. The awareness and what's going on today with fruits and vegetables and all the pieces of the puzzle are together. So I'm more excited than ever. We just had a big event here Saturday, this past Saturday here in Steamboat, where John Blair came in, and Woody and Gretchen Comstock and myself. And we must have had close to 100 people just here in Steamboat. And I had so many millennials that came up to me, and they were just salivating, saying, wow, is this really for real? Is this really a chance? And I said, absolutely. You can do this. I mean, just step up with the experience and the knowledge and the tools that you have today. You can go faster than ever. And, it's interesting, Lauren, I have to share a quick story with you guys. In the beginning, I said no to the partying and going to the beach and goofing off so I could be in a position to say yes for the rest of my life. So I said no to the things that really weren't that important so I could say yes to things that were truly important. And I shared this story with the group here. And I was in Tel Aviv, Israel, a few years ago. And I've got a 100 Club producer over in Israel, Roy and Leon, and they're just it over there. And I had shared the story about in my 20s, paying the price and sacrificing and putting in those 18, 20-hour days and fully engaged, taking an all-out massive action, and understanding that if I did this consistently for 3 to 5 years here in North America, and then I did another 3 to 5 years over in Europe. So that first 10 years, I said no so I could say yes for the rest of my life. And one of the younger millennials in the room raised their hand and they said, Jeff, was it really worth it? And I said, well, let me tell you a story. A few years ago, my mom called me up on the phone. And my grandmother was in her early 90s. And she had become very sick, very ill. And my mom's on the phone with me crying her eyes out, saying, Jeffrey, your grandmother's really sick. And I don't know how to ask you this, but she doesn't want to go to one of those homes. She wants to stay in her home, but private nursing or private health care in the home is very expensive. I said, Mom, stop right there. The answer is yes. I said, absolutely. I'll get her the private health care for the home. She can stay in her home. She doesn't have to go to one of those places. And my mom's crying her eyes out and couldn't believe that I could, and I was in the position to do that. Now I'm in Australia, Lauren, a few years later, and I'm sharing this story with the Aussies. And I come back to my room and I got a message on my phone recorder, and it's my mom crying her eyes out. It's probably 3-4 years later after I'd said yes. And she's crying her eyes out. And she said, Jeffrey, your grandmother passed away tonight. And I was by her bedside in her home.
So you get a prize.
And she passed away peacefully. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me and to her that you were able to do this. And was crying her eyes out and hung up the phone. And I thought to myself, was it worth it? Absolutely. And I could tell you story after story like that of being able to have the abundance. Oh, yes, we have a nice home. We have a nice car. I have a dream life and abundance, but be able to give and play at a level and contribute. Because I used to always say when I was younger, Lauren, if I could, I would. If I could, I would. I wish I could do these things. And now to be in that position to do these things that you only dreamed of. That's just one of many stories I could share.
Well, and I think the thing is about that, Jeff, is that you've helped all of us to put that, because of you doing those things, it's created the belief for so many of us that it's possible even for us to do that. You know what I mean? I think so many times that I think it's so profound. If you that don't know, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. So Jeff was at that conference, and that's where I'm born and raised, in Asheville. So if you guys could mute your line, we have a couple people, there's a lot of background noise. But I'm trying to mute everybody as they come on. But if you guys could help mute yourselves out, like Megan, there's a couple people that as you come on, if you can mute yourselves out, that'd be great. But I think that, Jeff, I just want to acknowledge you so much for just being such an amazing example for all of us. The one thing that I love the most about you, many, many, many things I love about you, but what I really love about you is that you understand that it's all about relationship. There's no expectations of anything. There's total appreciation. That's what you're about. And to look at my relationship with you, and I say that you were patiently persistent, but you actually really, really cared about me, whether or not I was going to say yes to the Juice Plus business or not. And I also remembered, the other thing I remember so much about you before I even said yes to this was that, you just, whenever I say, Jeff, there's this cool thing I heard about, and you were just so centered and unshakable about this company. You know what I mean? That that you knew you had really found the home. It wasn't just words for you. It was like a real home, like a home nothing could shake you to even look as if it were more compelling, if you would. And I think that's why I said yes, because I watched you for so long. Shakable, I was like, maybe there really is something. And then when I saw you say, that's it, that you cared enough about me to be unpopular for a minute, and you said, you have a great work ethic, you care about people, Lauren. I whose dream are you really living. And I just want to thank you because I think so many times we get scared and just really have the courage to, tell those, but you really listened more than anything. And, we talk so many times about launching people and developing people and starting people strong. Could you talk a little bit about that, but mostly from a way of really knowing where to put your energy? Because I
Yeah.
know that you invested in me. You invested in me and talk about knowing who to invest in. Like we just got off a call with Linda and I just got off a call and we could tell that this person was someone to invest
Yeah.
in. But could you talk a bit about that as well?
Sure, great question, Lauren. And that's the area that I've really been successful in is never focusing on my position or my income, always focusing on the person in front of me. And one of the things that I understood in the business, and I'm sure all of you could relate to this, and if you're getting this down in your notes, it's 8:15. And sometimes this is what will disturb people is as you're putting people into the business, as you have that funnel or that pipeline and you're building a growing customer base, you build, sometimes we want it more for them than they want it for themselves, right? And you find yourself sometimes trying to push people and you get discouraged like, wow, nobody's really stepping up and playing at the level I'm playing at. Well, 80, 15, and 5 means this. 80% of the people you bring into the business, Lauren, will do sometime, part-time, sometime, or no time. That's just the way it is. And you know what? I love them and embrace them for where they're at. And I have a lot of people do it a little. They're just customers or they're just kind of hanging around the flagpole, as I call it. And they're doing it sometime part-time or no time. And I love them. I embrace them, and I manage them by group. And I have a lot of people doing a little. 15% of the people you bring in will step up and play at a little higher level. They may go to VF or sales coordinator or whatever. But only 5%, less than 5%, will really step up and treat this like a business, not like a hobby. And those are the ones you lock arms with. Those are the ones that you chase their business from here to China. Those are the ones that you say, okay, your contact's my presentation. Equal commitment for equal commitment. I make a move, you make a move. Not I make 3 moves, you make no moves. And that's the ones you lock arms with and really chase it and run with. Now, the 80 and 15 percenters, you keep dripping on them. You keep them involved. You keep them, plugged in calls like this. You bring them to Arizona. You get them, and you never know in their lives when things might change. They hear it differently. They experience it differently. Maybe they're a different place in life and they step up to 15 or 5%. But understand that you may have to put 100 people in the funnel, the pipeline. It's called safety in numbers, law of averages, guys. You can't you got to say less to more people. You got to have enough people coming in and filling up that pipeline, filling up that funnel to get 3, 4, 5 good ones. You might have to put 100 in. And if you understand that and you embrace that and understand that not everyone's going to step up and play at this level, and you never know when they'll engage and step up to 15 or 5%, then you understand how this business works. Another thing I understand also is part-time magic. I under-promise and over-deliver. People can start this as a home-based business, part-time, flexible hours, very low investment, and start at the bottom and work their way up the scale and all of a sudden start to build something where they can be their own boss, earn what they're worth, build some residual income, and eventually 3, 4, 5 years down the road, not only do they have the money, but they have the quality of life that most people only dream of, the time freedom. And that's what's exciting is you can start them off. That's why you see a lot of women start our business and the husband at first has the ITC, I'm too cool disease. And in the beginning, it's her business, has a little success, it's our business. And then once it's successful, it's my idea, my business, right? The stay-at-home mom or the lady may say, well, my spiritual life, my family life is my priority, and I'm the one that makes the decision on the nutrition that comes in the home, and I got the kids involved growing the the Tower Garden, and and all of a sudden it starts to build some momentum, and they start to grow as a person, they start to build a team, and then all of a sudden the husband realizes, wow, this is something that I want to jump into. I can quit my job and we can have that time freedom, that quality of life that most people only dream of. But I've always focused, Lauren, on the paying activities, understanding what I get paid for. Listen, you don't have to do 1,000 things well. You have to do a handful of things 1,000 times over and over again. It's a simple business. It's not an easy business. It does require some hard work, some consistency of effort and discipline and work habits and attitude. But once you get the basics, the fundamentals down, and that's understanding what you get paid for. I get paid to tell the story. How I do that, the techniques, whether it's social media or talking to somebody that comes within 3 feet of me, or home parties or Zoom calls or whatever it is, I get paid for telling the story. Jay Martin's not going to call me up and Jeff, how many people did you talk to today? That's my job. The company ships, they collect, they manufacture, they account, they pay us, but we got to go out there and tell the story. And if you get good at doing that, and when you bring new people in, I do what's called tell, show, try, do. When I get a new distributor, not only do I tell them how to do the business, here's some great words to put in your notes. Let's do this together. Not you go do it, let's do it together. So not only do I tell them, I show them on the job training, your contacts, my presentation. Then they try it. They start trying it, and they're doing it before I cut them loose. The fortune is not only in the follow-up, the fortune is in the duplication. In the Juice Plus bottles, and you could take a capsule and it would increase your desire, your want to, your hunger. I tell you to liquidate all your assets and eat as much as you can, because that's where it all starts. But what I saw in you, Lauren, is an example. I'll tell you what I saw is your heart. You're a giver. What you've done with Tony Robbins over the years, always giving, always contributing, always putting other people's needs ahead of your own, always adding value, always creating raving relationships. That is something that you look for in a person, but you just never know about a person. Not only did you have those qualities and that heart and that as a giver, but you had this tremendous network of relationships that you had all over the world. And I said, if I could just get her to conference. It was the week of conference, Lauren. I put the cuffs on you and said, that's it, you're coming. And we brought 3, 4, 5 other people with you. You sat in the front row. You heard the stories. You were moved emotional. You had that experience. And I knew once you heard those stories coming across the stage, you walked in that room and you saw a company, the company with the heart, the Juice Plus family, and you heard the stories and all the relationships and the love and the connection and the growth and the contribution. That's how you build your business, guys. You do the basics and the fundamentals every day. But we got Arizona coming up, which Lauren, by the way, is closing the conference in Phoenix here at the end of our coming up here just within the next, 30 days or what? Or
Yep.
The countdown coming into conference. Yep. And you show up there, you don't take it for granted. This is the Super Bowl. This is the World Cup. How Jeff Roberti has built his business, and people to conference. And they see it. You can't really explain it until you've walked in that room and see thousands of people, and people in the business world, the corporate America world. It's like a rebirth. It's like a cleansing. Because in the corporate world, people at the top never try to help people at the bottom get to the top. And that's how our business works, is you're always trying that new person get to the top.
And Jeff, it seems like, I guess for me, I've got, what you and Cheryl have done such an amazing job of doing is really, painting the vision of what conference means. And so for people right now that go, yeah, it'd be nice to have a couple people at conference, maybe, especially people here that are in the U.S. We just talked to a girl, Linda and I spoke to a young girl who, went and flew over to the Australia conference. She's from the United States and flew over to the Australia conference. She was brand new in the business. And know, I mean, to create that vision for people. What would you say to people to help them get over their stuff? I remember, you know, you told me, you said, Lauren, go, I'll never forget for Orlando. I think I was only 2 years in the business, and you said, go rent a bunch of houses. And I remember that I rented all those condos. I think there were 5 condos. And I was like, shit, well, I better fill these up, right? So getting a little bit uncomfortable is a big thing.
Well,
What would you say about that?
that's a great question, Lauren. Um, get this down in your notes. I've always invested in a proven systems, and proven people. Well, what do I mean by proven system? It doesn't work all the time, guys. If I had people come to conference and say they're going to do something, or they come to conference and see it, and if that doesn't light their fire or their wood's wet, I don't know what to do. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work. But the ones that I have gotten to conference, that have experienced it, that it touched their heart, they were moved emotionally, they saw the big picture, they saw the to approve this. What do you mean by that, Jeff? Even when I didn't have the money, Lauren, in the very beginning, I always invested into people, getting them to conference. Maybe it was a conference ticket. Maybe it was their hotel room. Like, if you get yourself there, I'll get the room and I'll get your accommodations for 3 nights, whatever it was. And I did that with you. You've done that with Linda Evanton over in Australia. She's done that with her team. Cheryl's done it. I mean, we all know that investing a little bit of money back into your business and back into a proven system and back into proven people pays huge dividends. The difference between an expense and an investment, there's a return on the investment. It's not an expense, it's an investment, and you're investing into your business. So I've always treated this not like I spent $50 to fill out my application, guys. I pretended I spent $5 million to buy my franchise. How would you treat it then? Would you just kind of treat conference like, oh, by the way, I may come by myself and bring a few people? No. You get focused, you get hungry, you get everyone you can there, and you work it right down to the very last minute. And I've always loaded up the dance, had a freshman class, new baby distributors, and let them see it and experience it. And when they leave that room, that's where your business explodes, because they feel it, they experience it, and they're hungry, and they do the same thing for the next conference with their team. You duplicate that. So yes, I got a little uncomfortable from the very first conference I went to sleeping in my car and taking a shower at the gym and putting the one suit and little skinny tie on that I owned, to the next conference, doing whatever I could, scraping my quarters together and investing back into the business. And when I did that first 5 years here in North America, that first 5 years over in Europe, that first 10, 15 years, people see me today and, listen, you're rewarded in public for what you did in private. I was telling Joanna this the other day. People see me today and see the lifestyle, the quality of life, and all this money and homes and this and that, and giving all this money to Boys and Girls Club and all these charities and this and that. But they don't realize the amount of effort and time that I put into the business, getting up early, staying up late, having a why that made me cry. I mean, it was emotionally charged. It was something that, reasons come first. A why, that would get you to put in that extra 10% effort for 90% of the results. So at the end of the day, I could give you all the how to do the business. You've really got to get down to why you're doing the business. And if you get a why that's strong enough, that really charges you to pay the price and put in that effort, I'm telling you this, Lauren, you could compress an entire lifetime of work into a 3 to 5 year effort. If you got off the phone tonight and said, I listened to Jeff Roberti and Lauren on the call, but you know what? I'm ready to raise my standards. I'm ready to step up. I've been playing small in life. I'm ready to hold myself accountable. And what level am I going to play at? What level am I going to show up at? Great question to ask yourself, would you follow you? Would you follow you? You know, you've got to inspire yourself before you can inspire someone else. Success breeds success. You know, just a couple of years ago, Lauren, I found myself, my physical mastery had gotten away from me, and I was way overweight. I wasn't congruent. I wasn't relevant. I wasn't inspiring healthy living. And I said, you know what? I had a breakthrough. I reached a threshold, a breaking point. That was April of 2016, just 2 years ago. And in 6 months, I came home and I dropped over 50 pounds. I went back to a weight I was when I started the business 30 years ago. And I did that not out of vanity. I did that because I wanted to inspire me and live the mission and walk the talk and be an example, not a warning, and treat my body like a temple, not an amusement park. And it inspired other people because I saw people at the next conference in St. Louis. And they said, Jeff, I thought I saw a ghost. What happened to you? And then they saw me, then I saw them at the next conference in Anaheim, and they all came up to me and said, look at me, Jeff. I've lost 10 pounds. I've lost 20 pounds. I've lost 30 pounds. I saw you and it inspired me. So, you know, you've got to step up. Success breeds success. You know, people watch the feet, not the lips. You know, distributors don't do what you tell them to do. They do what you do. So what I'm trying to say, Lauren, is you got to get off this call tonight. And like I had a break 30 years ago. Enough. I reached a threshold. I was no longer going to be broke and struggling and juggling and living in a little crappy rented apartment behind on my rent, just like I did 2 years ago with my health. And when you hit that point, when you hit that level where you say, that's it, I'm not playing at 80% or 15%, I'm a 5%er. And it starts with me. Here's a great question to ask yourself. What do you have to do to make this business a bigger priority in your life?
So it's very interesting that you
said. Let me give you one more, Lauren. The best recruiting tool you can have is a mirror. Looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? It starts with me. Don't try to push people. Lead people, don't push them. You go out and get the most new customers. You go out and build 5 new frontline. Instead of trying to manage people and push them, why don't you in the production stage and keep building business, and that will inspire your team to do what you're doing because you're leading by example. Why has Jeff Roberti built this kind of business? I don't know, because I stayed in the production stage and built this massive amount of width. And sometimes some of the distributors will be like, oh, well, Jeff, I'm not the issue. You know, I'm mad at you and you're not spending all your time with me and putting all your eggs in one basket. Look, I've showed you the business. I told you, I showed you, you tried it, you do it. I've duplicated myself through you. It's not my business, it's your business. Step up or I'm going to go get some new people. I'll replace you. I'll love you for whatever level you want to play at, but I'm always going to stay in the production stage. And people respect that, by the way, when you keep producing and you get out of that. You know where all the stress and overwhelmed and need a break and a vacation is when you're dealing with people problems and managing people. You know where the fun, the juice, and the joy is putting on new customers, building new team, building new distributors. That's fun. That's exciting. That's what I talked to Cheryl about. I had that conversation with Cheryl several years ago. Cheryl Cortese, her check had gotten up to a level, and I said, well, would you like to double your check? She said, absolutely. I said, you want to know how you do it? Pretend you just filled out your application, you're starting over. And what you did to get to national marketing director in the beginning, go do that again. Go get 5 front lines and build a new team. And watch what that does to your organization. You guys want the real deal? You got to step up. You got to raise your standards and hold yourself accountable that you inspire you, which will inspire other people. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, it's very interesting that we're doing this call today because I had a memory that showed up from 7 years ago today, and we were in Long Beach at conference. And I'd been through probably the worst time where I was trying to get my kids there, and I had to go to the pawn shop before to get them to be able to come with me. And I was just a couple of years in the business, right, 4 years. So I'd been in entity just for 2 years. And so my business, some of the people my first wave of people that were in the business weren't as active as they were. And you said to me today, I still have the post-it note, otherwise I'd show you guys. It's a post-it note from that day, back then. And you said to me, Lauren, what do you need to do to make this business a bigger priority? And you said that to me, you know, today in 2011.
Yeah.
And I was like, and today. So, and I really thought about that. And you said to me, have you really given it, you know, when we talk about 3 to 5 years, had I really given it a good 3 to 5 years? And I hadn't. I'd given a good, you know, year and a half. I played pretty hard, but then I slacked off for a little bit. And I went the day when everything started to shift for me. So yeah, we talk about success. I mean, I'd say the people are always watching. You know, my dear friend Kate Grace is on the line, and you know, last year she said to me, "Sign me up," and I'm like, "Sign you up for what?" She goes, "Juice Plus. I've been watching you for 9 years." And so lots of people don't realize that people are always watching what you're doing. And so for you, you know, why after all this time are you still? I mean, I know the answer, I think, to this, but I love hearing your answer over and over again.
Um,
Why still so active? Why going out to these boot camps and these regionals and being so, you know, still sending new conference and getting on a plane, traveling around the world, where you could just be sitting back and whatever doing life?
You know what, Lauren?
Why?
This will be the last question. We'll wrap it up. Um, it's a very good question. I had people ask me that here in Steamboat. You know, Jeff, why are you still, you know, January of '87, this past January was 31 years. When I started at 24, I could have retired at 30. I was done. I already made $12 million by the time I was 30 years old and making six figures a month. I mean, I didn't have to keep doing this. I started out of desperation. Today, it's totally out of inspiration. And I'll tell you why. I'll never forget where I came from. I'll never forget, Lauren, the day that I filled out my application and somebody cared enough about me to share with me a product and share with me an opportunity that changed my life. It's not an opportunity, it's a responsibility. Not an opportunity, it's a responsibility. When you know what you know, how could you not share this product, share this mission, share this opportunity that could change somebody's life? And so I do it today out of inspiration to pay it forward, to truly gift this to someone else. And I get emotional and spiritual revenue from it. You've heard this from Tony before. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure in life. How many people do you know that are wealthy, that are rich, that have the money, but they're miserable? You know, you got the science of achievement where you produce and you achieve and you build something, but how about the art of fulfillment? Being involved in something that's rich in meaning and fulfillment and purpose, rich in relationships and love and growth and connection. Being involved in something that's mission driven, cause oriented, something that's bigger than yourself, something where you can make a difference, make an impact. I mean, there's a Visa commercial, it's priceless. And that's what fills me up. That's what charges me today. I can't sit at home in my ivory tower on the beach. Life's not just about me, and be a selfish NMD. I love what I do. I truly love this. And I get to add value to people's lives. And like I said, it's so rich in relationships. When I got sick back in 2012, and I know you're closing the Arizona conference, and I think they're going to have me in Tampa in the fall and probably speak in Barcelona for the big conference in Tampa in October and in Barcelona. And I'll share the story. When I got sick back in 2012, and I couldn't go to the conference, the biggest takeaway I ever had from conferences back then, 25 years of conferences, I never missed one. The biggest takeaway, Lauren, I had was when I couldn't go to conference, when I was too sick to travel. And I remember crying and being in massive pain. And Joanna goes, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And I said, "I told those people I'd be there for them when they walked the stage, and I can't go." And as much pain as I was in, once I started asking better quality questions and changed the meaning, and I went to a place of all this negative emotions and all this pain, I went to a place of love and gratitude and joy, and I got the lesson. I got the growth. That deepest pain gave me the most growth, and I became more and had more capacity to give and serve. But I got the lesson. It's just not another conference, because when it
Yeah.
was taken away from me, when I couldn't go, then I realized how much I loved it, how it met
Yeah.
the spiritual needs of growth and contribution and relationships and love and connection. And it was the biggest growth I had when I couldn't go to Dallas in 2012. I couldn't go in 2012. I couldn't travel. The doctor said, no, Jeff, you got to get your health back. Because I almost died that year. And I'll share this with you guys in depth. But that's why I still do the business, because I'm involved in something that I can make a difference. It's something bigger than yourself, something that you can go out and touch and change other people's lives and pay it forward. And it is priceless, Lauren. And I love it. And I'm going to turn it over to you. And I can't.
No, I don't want it. I want to ask you one other question as you say that, and then we'll finish up. But I want to give away a couple things. I think I'm Oprah, so I do want to give some things away. I think, Jeff, what I wanted to say, and I sorry I didn't ask you this earlier, was, I think we go through, I mean, God knows how many times you've had to, rebuild. I know the rebuild is a big thing. And a lot of times it can be very, disheartening. I know that for me, I remember the times you're like, Lauren, put on 5 new front lines. Put on 5 new front line. You should never stop recruiting. You should never keep going. So for those people that are in that rebuild stage and are like, you know what, I would love to go. I just can't right now with everything, or just rebuilding their business where they're kind of going, is it, I mean, you can hear it in your voice, but for them, they can't see it yet. What would you say to them?
Well, that goes back to, what do I have to do to make this business a bigger priority in life? I had not only, Lauren, let me go through a couple steps with you. Not only did I make a decision and I hit a breaking point, a threshold, a moment in time, a defining moment when I started this business. And I made a decision that I was going to do this business. Then I made a commitment. Then I took all out massive action. But the fourth part was having absolute resolve that I was going to do it no matter what, no matter how many people quit, how many customers dropped out, how many distributors quit, how many times I had to rebuild, how many times did the walls of Jerusalem have to be rebuilt. I was in. I had absolute certainty that I was going to do this no matter what. And if I had to rebuild, I'd rebuild. And I was in. I was committed. Not only I made a decision and commitment and took all out massive action, but when you have resolve, when you say, I'll do it, you can count on me, I'll do it no matter what, and you pick a mountain in life, and some people say, oh, Jeff, pick out another mountain. That one's too slippery. I'm going to the top. Oh, Jeff, pick out another mountain. That one's too rocky. I'm going to the top. Oh, Jeff, pick out a... You'll either see me way up or dead on the side. I'm not coming back. And when you have that level of resolve, I had to rebuild after the water days. I lost hundreds of marketing directors, guys, and I rebuilt. So did Gerald. So did Burdick. So did some of the other people that were in the business back then. This is nothing new. But you know what? How many distributors do you know in our profession that can sit there and say, I've been with one company for 31 years, 3 decades. And I would bet everything I've made over the last 31 years that this thing's going to be bigger and better over the next 31 years. The best of times are ahead of us. So my final message to you guys is a call to action. I'm going to give you some marching orders. You got to seize the moment. You got to strike while the iron's hot. You got to have a sense of urgency, a fear of loss. You got to get off this call and not just say, oh, well, okay, that was great. No, put in that extra 10% effort that's going to produce 90% of the results. Pay the price for a period of time. Give me 3 to 5 years, and you can compress an entire lifetime of work in the next 3 to 5 years. And if you want to be able to give more, become more, and have more capacity to serve and make a bigger impact, a bigger difference in the world, this is the vehicle to do it. Step up, Raise your standards. Hold yourself accountable. Strike while the iron's hot. Seize the moment. This is your chance. Don't take it for granted. That's it.
Okay, well, now you just have to get to give away 2 gifts, Jeff. Tell me when to stop, and I'm giving a gift away. So tell me when to stop.
Stop.
I've closed my eyes. Stop. Vicki Lord. Where is Vicki Lord from? Vicki Lord, where are you from? Let me unmute Vicki Lord. Vicki, where are you from? Vicki
Hello,
Lord.
Australia, Gold Coast.
Awesome. Well, Gold Coast, Australia, you have won. Are you coming to conference or no? You're not coming to the U.S. conference, are you?
No. Oh, not at this stage, no.
Are you coming? No? Okay.
I'll be at the Perth one,
Okay.
though.
Well, I will get you a gift. I'll figure out what it. I'll put together a gift package for you. Just make sure to message me. Okay. Tell me when to stop again, Jeff. Tell me when to stop.
Drum
Tell me when
roll.
to stop.
Stop.
Yes. Tell me when to stop. Okay. Stop. Andrew Fink. There you go. Andrew Fink, who just went VF. Hopefully he did today. Andrew Fink, you have gotten yourself another ticket for the meal plan, so you better get another person to conference. So there you go. You better get another person to conference. And I want to give away a U.S. conference ticket, Jeff, so tell me again. Tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Tell me when to stop. Okay, that is Stacy King. I know you're coming to conference, so that means you got to get one more person to conference so you can get a conference ticket. So, Jeff, thank you again. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I know we all are. And thank you for being so patiently persistent with me. And thank you for being, just who you are and that example of truly, a selfless servant, just out there to do the right thing every day. So thanks, everybody.
Look forward to seeing you in Arizona.
Yeah.
Rocket.
Bye.